Here with Tom Loeffler. Now, Tom, we're here for Carlos Cuadras, who's the former super flyweight champion. He held the WBC title. He wants that rematch with Roman Gonzalez. Gonzalez is also on that fight card as the co-feature. Why do we continue to put together great undercards when we already have a great main event?
You know, it's a tremendous main event, but our philosophy has always been for every Golovkin show, we want to put on a strong show for the entire fans. And you know, there's been no better combination in boxing to having Triple G and Chocolatito on the same show. Chocolatito's in a very tough matchup. It's his mandatory fight against Rungvisai from Thailand, and having Carlos Cuadras on there, Ryan Martin on there. Ryan Martin's fighting PB Cruz. Cuadras fighting Carmona from Mexico City. And whenever you get a matchup of two big punchers in the middleweight division, clearly the two top middleweights in their division, that's what the fans are looking forward to.
Assuming that Gennady Golovkin is the victor on March 18th, can I suggest another fight, another undercard fight? That Japanese sensation flyweight, Naoya Inoue? Yeah. Inoue
is a tremendous fighter, and you never know, but he would be a great showcase as well. He's kind of building up that following where people are hearing about him. People haven't necessarily seen him fight, but he's kind of building up that interest, and he would be a tremendous addition as well to one of the undercards.
Now, as I was talking to Carlos, he had something interesting to say. We were talking about Chavez versus Canelo. He says Chavez will be the victor. Chavez is going to knock out Canelo Alvarez. Now that leaves Gennady Golovkin without a dance partner. Is it possible, if Chavez is the winner of that fight, will we see Triple G versus Chavez Jr.?
We tried to make the fight with Chavez 2 years ago. You know, Gennady would have moved up to 168 to fight him. Would have been a great fight at that time, but you know, there were some political issues with the promotional contract that Chavez was in, so that didn't happen at the time. I think whoever wins that fight between Canelo or Chavez, and then if Gennady is successful against Danny Jacobs, it's going to be a huge matchup. Look, if Chavez can beat Canelo, all of a sudden he's at the top of sport of boxing, and then a matchup with Gennady against either one of those guys is going to be a huge matchup.
What are your thoughts when Canelo's promoter, Oscar De La Hoya, says they're not ready for 160 pounds? He's a junior middleweight. They might test the waters. And now they're fighting at 165.5. I understand it's a big money fight.
I think it's different weights for different situations. Now Canelo arguably is bigger than Gennady. You know, a lot of people saying it was too small for Gennady. Now he's fighting at the super middleweight division. So, but I have to say, you know, any discussions that I have had with Golden Boy, it was never an issue with the weight. It was always going to be at 160 pounds if that fight can be made. Again, Gennady and Abel are 100% focused on Danny Jacobs. It's clearly the toughest test of Gennady's career, and if he's successful, that's when you know, my job is to look forward and see the best matchups that we can make, and whoever wins either Chavez or Canelo is clearly going to be a terrific matchup for Triple G.
You know, Canelo says Chavez Jr. in May, Triple G in September, Miguel Cotto in December. That's a busy schedule. What are your thoughts on that? Could that happen?
I mean, that's Canelo's one of the most marketable guys in the sport of boxing, and if he can pull off something like that, that'd be a tremendous year. I know Chavez wants to ruin his plans. I know Danny Jacobs wants to ruin Gennady's plans. Certainly, if Gennady and Canelo wins, Gennady's going to want to ruin his plan to fight Cotto. If Gennady beats Chavez, beats Canelo, then maybe the Cotto fight might be out there. But you never know. Gennady's always looked for the best matchups, the toughest matchups. Now he's finally getting to the point where people, and especially that's why we have to give David Lemieux a lot of credit. He was the first champion to get in the ring with Gennady. We got to give Danny Jacobs a lot of credit, even though he was the mandatory. We've seen a lot of mandatories move out of their position. We've seen a lot of champions move out of the way of Gennady, even vacate titles in order to avoid the fight. So we give Danny Jacobs a lot of credit. He's never hesitated in wanting to fight. Gennady never hesitated in wanting to fight, and this is what the fans respond to. They respond respond to two warriors, two huge knockout punchers fighting each other and risking it all on the line. You know, I said at the press conference, there's no rematch clauses. It's the winner take all here. Gennady, we worked so hard getting him all the titles, the WBA title, WBC title, IBF title, IBO title. I mean, all that work is out the window if Danny Jacobs is victorious on March 18th, and Danny Jacobs realizes that, you know, with one victory, all of a sudden he's at the top of the sport of boxing. So there's really a tremendous amount at stake, not only for Triple G and Danny Jacobs. There is for Chocolatito and Rungvisai, for Carlos Cuadras. If he doesn't win against Carmona, then he loses his position to challenge the winner of Cuadras and Rungvisai. So there's really a tremendous amount of risk involved in these fights, and that's what the fans like to see.
Are we expecting huge pay-per-view numbers for Golovkin versus Jacobs?
You know, it's always hard to speculate on the pay-per-view numbers. We did well the first time around. It was his first pay-per-view outing. David Lemieux was a champion, but he wasn't the most known over here. Clearly, Danny Jacobs has had a lot more exposure, especially on premium cable over here in the United States. He's got a big fan base, a lot of loyal fans, and so we expect to do well on the show. But you know, it's really not about the pay-per-view numbers. It's more about just putting on the great fights, and you know, then we keep building from there. Clearly, Gennady is in a completely different situation than he was when he challenged David Lemieux. That was the first time he ever sold out Madison Square Garden. This time we're expecting a sellout at Madison Square Garden. In between then, he sold out the Forum against Dominic Wade, and he sold out the O2 Arena against Kell Brook. Naturally, Kell Brook had a big fan base, or has a big fan base in the UK, and you can't say it's all Triple G, but there's a pattern where every time he fights now, he's selling out arenas, and it's not just in one location. A lot of fighters like to just fight in one location, have their fan base, they know the commission, they're used to the hotels. You know, Gennady is fought all over the world. I think 11 countries he's fought over the world, and that's you know, over his career, and that's really the definition of a true world champion. And he wants to show he's the best. He doesn't care where he fights. He doesn't care who he fights. He just wants to show that he's the best. And right now, those doors are all opening, especially if he's victorious against Danny Jacobs. Then I think the doors will open where no one really can deny you know, where he's at in the sport of boxing.
Hey, talk to us about Vladimir Klitschko versus AJ.
That's a tremendous fight. I'm going to say that's a massive fight. It's two huge heavyweights. They're almost identical size, 6'5", great physiques. Two Olympic gold medalists.
Always in tremendous shape.
Yeah, great shape. Vladimir trains extremely hard. I know Anthony must train hard. You know, I've got a great relationship with Eddie Hearn. We did the Brook fight together. And you know, you talk about 90,000 tickets sold at Wembley Stadium. I mean, you can't have a better response than that. You know, it's the biggest fight in the history of the UK in terms of ticket sales, and you know, I think an event like that is just a great international event. When you have two great heavyweights fighting each other, that really becomes an international event, and that's a fight that I know a lot of people are looking forward to. That's I think that's one of those fights where whoever lands the first big punch might be the winner of that fight.
One of my last questions, let's talk about a rising superstar in the cruiserweight division, Alexander Usyk. What are we expecting him back inside that ring?
Oh, Usyk is a tremendous fighter, a tremendous talent. He also Olympic gold medalist in London, 2012. I think he's kind of the sleeper of all of those Olympic Games. A lot of people talk about, I mean, clearly Lomachenko's a great fighter. You know, you have a lot of great fighters coming out of there, but I think Usyk is kind of the sleeper there, where he's got so much talent. He's got a great marketable personality, and he had a great debut on HBO. He fought a very tricky guy with Michuno, southpaw, short guy that could box. He was able to stop him, and I've been talking to HBO and Peter Nelson, and they want to put him back on the regular HBO platform in April. So that's what we're trying to work out right now as we speak. So we look for great things for Usyk in the future.
All right. Thank you, Tom. Always a pleasure, my man.
Thanks.
I'm looking forward.